The scream tore through the night like a shattered wine glass, echoing off the ancient stone walls of Rhonda's old town square. I stumbled back, my heart slamming against my ribs as the crowd surged around me, a sea of laughter and flamenco guitars suddenly drowned in chaos. And then she was there, tall, unyielding, her voice cutting through the panic like a blade. Get away from her, now. My hands trembled as I clutched the torn hem of my dress, the metallic tang of fear still sharp on my tongue. The autumn festival in Ronda, Spain, was supposed to be my escape, a whirlwind of harvest moons, spiced chorizo, and the kind of fleeting joy that mends a broken American heart. I'd come here on a whim, fleeing the sterile boardrooms of New York for something raw and alive, but now, pinned against a vendor's cart by a drunkard's wild swing, I realized escapes have a way of circling back to bite. She moved like she owned the shadows, her green eyes locking onto the man who'd grabbed me in his stupor, a local hothead, red-faced and reeking of cheap sangria. Vivian Laurent, though I didn't know her name yet, was all sharp angles and quiet fury, mid-30s, with the kind of presence that made the air thicken. Her dark hair caught the lantern light as she stepped between us, her voice low but lethal. Touch her again, and you'll spend the night in more than just a cell. The man blinked, sobered by her stare, and slunk away into the throng, muttering curses under his breath. I gasped, sliding down the cart's edge, my knees buckling from the adrenaline crash. She knelt beside me, her hand, strong, calloused from years of closing deals in glass towers, brushing a curl from my face. Hey, she said, her American accent wrapping around the word like a lifeline, you're shaking. Breathe with me, okay? In. Out. Her thumb traced my jaw, not demanding, just steadying, and in that fractured moment, amid the festival's dying echoes, something inside me cracked open. Not fear, but recognition. Like she'd been waiting in the wings of my life, scripted for this exact scene. Her name was Vivian, as I learned over the next hour, nursing mugs of hot chocolate in a tucked-away cafe off the square. She was a venture capitalist from San Francisco, in Ronda for a tech summit disguised as a wine tasting, ironic, given how the night's vintage had nearly turned sour. I saw you from across the square, she confessed, her smile crooked, like she was admitting a weakness. You had this light about you, dancing alone to that guitar solo. Made me forget my own bullshit for a second. I laughed, a shaky sound that surprised me. Gemma Hayes, that's me, 28, ex-marketing was turned freelance wanderer after my fiancé bailed for a promotion in Dubai. Light? I felt like a ghost out there. New York chewed me up and spat me out. We talked like we'd been orbiting each other for years, her empire of startups funding green energy dreams, my quiet unraveling after one too many late nights pitching ideas to men who saw me as scenery. The festival's lanterns flickered through the window, casting golden flecks in her eyes, and for the first time in months, the ache in my chest dulled to a hum. By midnight, we'd wandered the Puente Nuevo Bridge, the Guadalquivir River rushing far below like a vein of midnight silk. The air was crisp with falling leaves, cinnamon from distant churro stalls, and the faint, electric pull between us. She stopped midway, leaning on the railing, her coat open to the chill. What are you running from, Gemma? Not accusatory, just curious, like she could map my scars with a glance. I hesitated, the words I'd buried under playlists and plane tickets bubbling up. From being invisible. From loving someone who made me feel like an afterthought. The confession hung there, vulnerable as the mist rising from the gorge. Vivian turned, her gaze softening, and without a word, she pulled a thin silver chain from beneath her collar, a pendant shaped like a crescent moon, etched with faint runes that caught the moonlight. In my family, we mark what matters, she murmured, her voice dropping to a whisper. Not with ink or rings, but with promises. Wear this tonight. Let it remind you you're seen. My fingers brushed hers as she fastened it around my neck, the metal warm against my skin. It felt like a brand, not painful, but indelible. A mark. Her mark. And in that suspended breath, under Rhonda's eternal bridge, I leaned in, our lips meeting soft and tentative, tasting of chocolate and unspoken futures. The kiss deepened, her hand cradling my nape, pulling me into a world where I wasn't running anymore. I was found. The next morning dawned golden over the Serrania hills, sunlight spilling into my rented casita like an apology for the night before. I woke with the pendant still warm against my collarbone, a faint ache in my lips from Vivian's goodbye kiss at dawn. She'd slipped away before the roosters crowed, leaving a note on hotel stationery. Coffee at La Cantina? 10 a.m. Don't ghost me, Hayes. I smiled, tracing the sharp slant of her handwriting, and for the first time in forever, the mirror reflected someone unbroken. Rhonda unfolded around us like a secret affair. We hiked the goat paths of the Tahoe, her stories of Silicon Valley cutthroat deals weaving with my tales of Brooklyn brownstones and bad poetry slams. Vivian was alpha in every sense, commanding waiters with a nod, negotiating with a street vendor over a hand-painted fan like it was a merger. But with me, she unraveled, laughing at my impressions of pompous ad execs, her fingers lacing mine as we shared paella under olive groves. You're not like anyone I've closed on, she'd tease, her green eyes holding mine a beat too long. You make me want to rewrite the terms. By week 2, the festival's afterglow had morphed into something deeper, a rhythm of stolen mornings and sunset drives in her rented Alfa Romeo along the Costa del Sol. She'd marked me in subtle ways. A custom leather journal slipped into my bag, filled with prompts for the novel I'd abandoned, reservations at hidden bodegas where we'd toast to second acts. The pendant became my talisman, its weight a constant hum of her presence. One evening, as we picnicked on the cliffs of Marbella, waves crashing like applause, she traced its outline on my skin. In my lineage, old French-Canadian stock with a twist of folklore, we believe in soul bonds. Silly, I know, but this? It's my way of saying you're mine to cherish. Not own. Cherish. I shivered, not from the sea breeze, but the vulnerability in her voice. And if I break it? I whispered, half joking. Her smile faded, shadows crossing her face. Then I'd chase you to the ends of the earth. But Gemma. Don't. The kiss that followed was fierce, anchoring, as if she could pour her empire's steel into my fragile heart. But paradise in Spain, like anywhere, has its serpents. It started with a call from New York, my old firm, dangling a reconciliation package. Come back, Gemma. We miss your fire. I laughed it off at first, but the seed took root, security, familiarity, the life I'd fled. Vivian noticed the shift, her protectiveness sharpening. They're vultures, she'd say over espresso, her hand covering mine. Stay here. Build with me. I've got a project in Malaga, sustainable vineyards. Your marketing brain could make it sing. Tempted, I lingered, our days blurring into a haze of passion and plans. Until Elena appeared. Elena was Vivian's ex-partner, not lover, but business ally turned ghost from her past. A sleek Madrid lawyer in her 40s, with bobbed platinum hair and eyes like polished obsidian, she materialized at our cliffside dinner one night, uninvited. Vivian, darling, she purred, sliding into the seat beside her as if time hadn't carved a canyon between them. Heard you were playing house in Andalusia. Thought I'd drop the merger docs myself. I stiffened, the pendant suddenly heavy. Vivian's jaw tightened, but she played it cool, signing papers under the stars while Elena's gaze flicked to me like an afterthought. And who's this? Your latest intern. The barb landed, casual cruelty wrapped in silk. Partner, Vivian corrected, her voice a low growl, her arm draping possessively over my chair. But Elena's laugh lingered, a crack in our idyll. That night, as Vivian held me close in the villa's four-poster bed, whispering apologies into my hair, doubt crept in. Who was I to her? A festival fling, marked on a whim. Or the life she'd rewrite empires for? The betrayal hit like an Andalusian storm, sudden, unrelenting. I'd borrowed Vivian's laptop for a pitch deck, her password a nod to that first night, rendezvous. But curiosity, that old thief, led me to her emails. Buried in a folder labeled Archives, was the thread, Elena, not just an ex-colleague, but the architect of Vivian's rise. They'd built Laurent Ventures together, a powerhouse in renewable tech, until Elena's ambition soured. She'd poached clients, leaked prototypes, slashed Vivian's trust like a hostile takeover. The final email, dated 2 years back: "You're too soft for this game, Viv. Find your mark elsewhere." My stomach twisted. Soft? Was that why Vivian guarded me like a vault? Because I'd become her redemption, her proof she could build without breaking? Or worse, a pawn in some lingering game with Elena? I slammed the laptop shut, the pendant burning against my skin. That afternoon, while Vivian was in Malaga sealing the vineyard deal, I confronted Elena at her hotel bar. "What do you want here?" I demanded, voice steadier than I felt. She sipped her vermouth, amused. "Truth. To remind her she's playing small. Youth, sweet, wide-eyed Gemma, are a distraction. She marked you out of pity, you know. Saw a lost lamb at the festival and thought, why not?" Lies, perhaps, but they festered, echoing my deepest fears. By dusk, Elena's seed had bloomed. I packed my bag, leaving the journal on the bed, the pendant on the pillow. A note: "I can't be your second act. Find someone who doesn't need saving." The flight to New York was a blur of recycled air and regret, Rhonda shrinking to a postcard in my mind. Back in my cramped Brooklyn walk-up, the city's grind swallowed me whole, freelance gigs that paid in exposure, night scrolling Vivian's LinkedIn, her face unchanging, fierce. She didn't call, didn't chase. Maybe Elena was right. Maybe the mark was just a pretty lie. Months ground on, autumn folding into a bitter winter. I threw myself into work, pitching eco-campaigns that echoed her world but never touched it. The pendant. I'd left it behind, but its ghost haunted me, warm spots on my chest during subway commutes, dreams of bridges and green eyes. Until the email arrived, innocuous at first: vineyard launch invite. Malaga, April. Your vision made this possible. V. Curiosity dragged me back, economy class this time, landing in sun-drenched Andalusia like a prodigal. The event was a triumph, terraced vines heavy with Tempranillo, guests toasting under fairy lights strung like stars. Vivian spotted me across the terrace, her tailored suit hugging her frame, but her eyes, God, those eyes, held a storm. She crossed the space in strides, pulling me into a shadowed alcove, her voice raw. "You left without a fight. Why?" The words tumbled out, the emails, Elena's venom, my terror of being a placeholder. She listened, unflinching, then cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't noticed. "Gemma, Elena's the ghost, not you. She built me, then broke me, taught me walls were safer than windows. But you tore them down." The mark wasn't pity. It was terror, of losing the one person who saw me whole. Her confession cracked me open. The folklore wasn't silly, it was her armor, a family legend of bonds that outlast betrayals. "I chased you," she admitted, voice breaking. "Hired PIs, stalked your Insta stories. But you needed space to choose." Rain began to patter, soft at first, then a downpour, soaking us as thunder rolled over the Sierras. I laughed through sobs, pulling her close, our foreheads touching. "I choose you." Every broken boardroom and bridge. The kiss was redemption, salt and rain and relief, her arms my shelter as lightning forked the sky. Elena watched from the terrace, her face a mask of defeat, but we didn't care. The storm passed, leaving us drenched and alive, the vineyard's earth scent rising like renewal. In the years that followed, we wove our worlds, me helming the vineyard's brand, her expanding the empire with a softer edge. Rhonda became our anchor, annual pilgrimages to the festival where it began, dancing under lanterns, her hand in mine. The pendant. She reforged it into matching rings, simple silver crescents exchanged on that same bridge, vows whispered to the river, marked for life, cherished forever. Betrayals scar, but love. It rebuilds. And in the quiet hours, as Vivian pulls me close against the world's sharp edges, I know, I'm not her life. We're each other's whole, unyielding home. We settled into a rhythm that felt less like survival and more like symphony, her San Francisco penthouse overlooking the bay for deal-closing winters, my Malaga office amid the vines for sun-soaked springs. But Spain held us closest, its rugged soul mirroring the raw edges we'd smoothed together. Ronda wasn't just a memory, it was ritual. Every October, we'd return for the festival, the square alive with the same chaos that had thrown us together. Vendors hawking marzipan moons, guitars weeping under starlit skies, the air thick with wood smoke and possibility. One such night, 3 years in, the pendant, now ring, glinted as we swayed to a lone flamenco player's lament. Vivian's hand rested low on my waist, her breath warm against my ear. "Remember when I thought saving you was the hard part?" she murmured, her laugh a low rumble. "Turns out, keeping you is the thrill." I tilted my head, catching her gaze, still that piercing green, but softened now, like sea glass tumbled by time. "Thrill? Try terror. You're the one who negotiates with suppliers like they're hostile witnesses." Our banter flowed easy, laced with the kind of intimacy that comes from weathering storms. But beneath it, Elena's shadow lingered, a faint bruise. She'd slithered back into Vivian's orbit last spring, pitching a reconciliation merger over lunch in Madrid. I'd walked in on the tail end, Elena's hand on Vivian's arm, too familiar, her voice silk over steel. We were unstoppable once. Imagine us again. Vivian had shut it down, of course, her tone brooking no argument. That chapter's closed. Gemma's my now and always. But the encounter rattled me, stirring old insecurities. Was I enough? Or just the interlude before the encore? I buried it under work, crafting ad campaigns that turned our Tempranillo into a global darling, moonlit bonds, the tagline that sold out vintages from Napa to New York. Success numbed the doubt, but Vivian saw through it, her protectiveness a quiet force, surprise deliveries of my favorite Andalusian figs, late-night calls from Tokyo boardrooms just to hear my voice. The real fracture came in summer, under the relentless Andalusian sun. I'd been in Ronda for a solo harvest check, the vines heavy with promise, when my phone buzzed with a New York area code. It was Marcus, my old firm boss, the one who'd waved off my burnout like it was a bad coffee run. "Gemma, we've got a hole in the C-suite. VP of Creative. Your name's on everyone's lips. Come home. Make it rain like old times." The offer was a siren song, equity, corner office, the validation I'd craved before Vivian's world showed me bigger skies. I hedged, mumbling about timing, but the seed took root. That night, over video from her Singapore layover, I floated it casually. Just hypothetically. What if I dipped back east for a stint? Network, you know. Her face, pixelated but sharp, went still. Hypothetically. The word hung, laced with hurt. "Gemma, we've built this. You and me. Is New York calling louder than us?" I backpedaled, blaming jet lag, but the call ended strained, her "I love you" clipped. Guilt gnawed as I wandered Ronda's empty square, the bridges railing cool under my palms. The river whispered doubts, "You're marked, but are you chained?" Elena, ever the opportunist, struck then, like a fox scenting weakness. She emailed me directly, for old time's sake, attaching a dossier on the New York gig, salary breakdowns, perks that dwarfed our vineyard's modest margins. "Vivian's brilliant," her note read, "but she's playing house in the hills. You deserve spotlights, not shadows. Let's talk. Coffee in Madrid." I deleted it, but the poison seeped. Betrayal wasn't hers alone, it was mine, flirting with escape when our life was mid-sentence. The climax brewed over weeks. Vivian returned tanned and tense, her suitcase barely unpacked before we clashed in the villa's sun-drenched kitchen. "You're pulling away," she accused, cornering me against the counter, her eyes searching mine. "Is it Elena? Or me? Tell me, Gemma, am I holding too tight?" Tears stung as I shoved the laptop at her, the email chain glowing accusatory. "It's everything. You marked me like a possession, build walls around us because your past taught you to hoard. But what if I need to breathe? What if New York's my air? The words were knives, self-inflicted, but they flew. Vivian recoiled as if struck, her face paling. Hoard. God, Gemma, I protect because I've lost before. Elena didn't just steal deals, she stole my faith. You gave it back. And now, you're handing it to her on a platter. The fight escalated, voices echoing off terracotta walls, until I stormed out, driving blindly toward Rhonda. Rain lashed the windshield, mirroring the torrent inside, love twisted into resentment, security into suffocation. I pulled over on the Puente Nuevo, the gorge a black maw below, and sobbed into the wheel. The ring felt like a shackle, its crescent mocking me. Marked for life. But whose life? Hers, or the one I'd abandoned? Hours later, headlights pierced the downpour, Vivian's Alpha, skidding to a halt. She emerged soaked, wrenching open my door, pulling me into the rain without a word. We stood there, drenched and defiant, thunder punctuating our silence. Then she knelt, mud be damned, taking my hands. I was wrong, she choked out, rain streaming down her face. The mark isn't a chain, it's a choice. Every day. If New York calls, go. I'll be here, building bridges, not walls. Because loving you means trusting you'll come back. Her vulnerability undid me, the Alpha cracked open, raw and real. I pulled her up, our embrace fierce against the gale, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of salt and storm. I don't want New York, I whispered. I want us. Flawed, fierce us. Elena's email. Deleted forever. The job offer. Politely declined. We drove home laughing through shivers, the rain easing to a drizzle, stars peeking like hesitant witnesses. From that night, our bond deepened, not in grand gestures but quiet evolutions. Vivian stepped back from a deal to co-author my novel, a memoir of wanderlust and love, dedicated to the woman who found me under festival lights. I, in turn, learned her language of protection, not hovering, but holding space. We hosted harvest suppers in Rhonda, inviting locals and expats, turning our private world outward, a vineyard co-op that empowered women farmers, blending her business acumen with my storytelling heart. Yet drama, that uninvited guest, circled once more. A tabloid scoop, some Madrid rag digging dirt on Vivian's mysterious Andalusian muse, twisted our story into scandal, tech titan's secret sapphic hideaway. Elena's fingerprints were all over it, her anonymous source, quote dripping spite. Vivian always did prefer pretty distractions to power plays. The article went viral, trolls flooding my inbox, old colleagues side-eyeing at industry mixers. For the first time, our love felt exposed, fragile under the glare. Vivian wanted to sue, her lawyer instincts flaring, but I held her back on our villa balcony, the sea a silver ribbon below. Let them talk, I said, tracing her ring. We're not hiding anymore. We're human, messy, marked, magnificent. We countered with grace, a joint op-ed in Forbes, Love in the Boardroom, Why Vulnerability Fuels Innovation, Turning Venom into Victory. Elena faded to irrelevance, her merger pitches ignored, her empire crumbling under its own isolation. As autumn waned that year, we stood on the bridge again, the festival's echoes faint but fond. Vivian slipped a new gift into my palm, a locket etched with vines and moons, holding a tiny photo of us, rain-soaked and radiant. For the next chapter, she said, her voice steady. Wherever it leads. I smiled, heart full. Leads right back here. To you. Life, in its American-infused Spanish sprawl, didn't grant tidy bows, it layered graces, one vine upon another. 5 years post-festival, our world bloomed, the vineyard a beacon for ecotourism, drawing queer creators from Brooklyn to Barcelona for retreats where stories swapped like wine. Vivian, ever the architect, mentored young entrepreneurs, her boardrooms now circles of shared dreams rather than cutthroat conquests. Me. The novel hit shelves with a quiet splash, Bridges of the Heart, a tale of found families and fierce loves, its launch party in Rhonda drawing tears and toasts under lantern glow. But humanity's arc bends toward light through shadow, and ours was no exception. The call came on a crystalline February morning, Vivian's phone shattering the villa's peace like dropped crystal. Her mother, stern, silver-haired Claire Laurent, matriarch of that folklore-laced lineage, whispering from a San Francisco hospital bed. Cancer, stage 4, the kind that doesn't negotiate. Come home, Vivi, she rasped through the line. We need to settle scores. Vivian hung up, her face a mask of granite, but I saw the fracture, the girl who'd grown up under Claire's iron rule, marked not with moons but expectations, be unbreakable, or be nothing. Elena had been Claire's protégée once, groomed as the suitable partner in power. When Vivian chose hard over hustle, the rift widened, a decade of silences punctuated by obligatory Christmases. Now, with death knocking, old wounds festered. She wanted to go alone. This is family baggage, Gemma. Heavy stuff. But I wouldn't hear it, packing our bags with quiet resolve. We're family now. All of us. The flight west was tense, her hand clenched in mine over the Atlantic, the pendant, ring, our tether. San Francisco welcomed us with fog-shrouded bays and the hum of innovation, but the Laurent estate loomed like a Gothic relic, Victorian spires in Pacific Heights, walls lined with ledgers of triumphs and the silver chains of unspoken regrets. Claire was a wisp in her four-poster, eyes still sharp as she appraised me. The mark-maker's choice, she croaked, gesturing to my ring. No warmth, just assessment. Vivian stiffened beside the bed, but I knelt, taking her frail hand. She marked me, yes. But I marked her back, with trust, with time. Claire's laugh was a rattle, bitter but thawing. Over days blurred into vigils, stories surfaced, Claire's own hidden loves, a 60s affair with a jazz singer shattered by societal steel, the folklore, not whimsy, but her grandmother's code for queer survival, bonds that bend, never break. Elena's ghost reappeared, unbidden, a condolence visit that reeked of strategy. She swept in with lilies and ledgers, her platinum bob impeccable, offering to handle the estate transition. Vivian's fury ignited, low and lethal. You don't get to circle vultures now, Elena. Not after you picked our bones clean. The confrontation crackled, years of betrayals boiling over, Elena's thefts not just business, but personal, leaked emails mocking Vivian's soft spots, including early whispers of us. Claire watched, silent, then rasped, enough. Elena, you built nothing alone. Leave with what grace you have left. It was Claire's quiet betrayal revealed next, her complicity in Elena's rise, pushing Vivian toward a merger that would have erased her soul. I thought armor was love, she confessed one dusk, as chemo drips echoed. But you forged something truer. Tears carved paths down her cheeks, and Vivian broke, collapsing beside the bed, their hands entwining for the first time in memory. I slipped out, giving them the space for mending, alpha daughter and iron mother, unraveling threads to reweave. Claire passed at equinox, the bay a mirror of grief under harvest moon. The funeral was small, fierce, queer elders from her hidden past, tech titans humbled, and us, Vivian and I, rings glinting as we scattered ashes from the Golden Gate, winds carrying her to the sea. In the aftermath, Elena's final play, a lawsuit over stolen IP from their old partnership, timed for maximum sting. Vivian wanted war, but Claire's will was her legacy, a letter to us both, protect what's yours, but with open hands. Love isn't a fortress, it's a field. We settled out of court, quietly, channeling the funds into a foundation, Laurent Hayes grants for LGBTQ+ innovators, turning poison into purpose. Elena slunk away, her empire a hollow echo, while we planted roots deeper, adopting a rescue pup named Luna, her crescent ear scar a nod to our mark. Back in Rhonda, as another autumn unfurled, we walked the festival square hand in hand, the air alive with the same electric hum. A young couple danced nearby, tentative and tender, and Vivian squeezed my fingers. Think they'll make it? She asked, her voice soft with wonder. I leaned into her, the pendant's echo warm in my ring. If they fight like we did. Hell yes. The guitar swelled, leaves spiraling like confetti, and in that moment, drama distilled to devotion. I knew, we'd been marked not for possession, but partnership. An alpha businesswoman and her wandering heart, protecting each other like life itself. Not perfect, but profoundly ours. Human, after all. In the end, love's true drama isn't the storm, it's the dawn that follows, golden and unyielding.